I am somebody who I think racism is a thing. And there's no buts about it. I think racism is a thing. And before you people who like, yeah, there's racism against white people, yeah, I acknowledge that. There are people who um refuse to heed the words FN or Frederick Nietzsche. Those who fight monsters should take care in the process to avoid becoming them. And so there are a lot of people that, exercise racism against white people, Middle Eastern people, Asian people. There are, of course, the reverse. There are white people that exercise racism against all of them people. It's just racism is a thing that to me is lazy. You put forth effort to hate people just because of their skin color or what the heritage of the part of this globe that they had no choice in being. See, if I'm gonna hate somebody, if I'm gonna put forth the effort to hate somebody, I'm gonna hate somebody because of the shit that they do. I'm sorry, it's a little bit like, yeah, if you ain't doing nothing to me, why would I hate you because of where the part of the world that your people are on? What benefit of that is that for me? But there are some people that are so small in their thinking of themselves and so incredibly, incredibly unaccomplished that the accomplishment that they try is because they're this race. Not that they've done anything, not that they've actually played a part in, the advancement of human culture. It's just, I'm part of this race, so I'm good. And to that I say, oh, you've accomplished nothing in your life to be proud of. Aw. And you see this the way I respond to these idiots in my comment section. Because you part of this race, because you were born with this particular body part, because you like some other particular body part, you're better. No, poo poo. You're just getting by on being the bar of being human. And unless you do some accomplishments, and it don't even have to be big accomplishments, but unless you do some accomplishments, that's all you are, a race. So it just puzzles my mind when people says, I hate this race because they haven't did anything. And I think to myself, bitch, you ain't did nothing. You're just hiding behind your race. And no race is blameless in their accomplishments or have not had any failures in their endeavors. So racism just puzzles me. It puzzles me. So that being said, it exists. And for you to deny it, you must think that you're one of the good ones. That being said, I came across this video a couple weeks ago, and I've been looking for an opportunity to have not the opportunity. I've been looking for the patience to sit through this video because this video is an hour long, and I'm not saying anything to the quality of it. I actually haven't watched it, but it's an hour long to discuss something new. And you just discovered Tuesday. That's it. It's just Tuesday. But let's hear how this gentleman was wrong about racism, and let's see what he says. I may be wrong. But did he have his Negro wake up call or his Negro wake up moment? Let's see, shall we?
Yesterday, I experienced an act of discrimination that I haven't experienced in a long time, especially
What? No, I wonder why.
since being here in Texas. And it got me thinking about a few things. Now, when you figure out what I was doing and what I was listening to, the irony could not be more ironic. But before we get into that, have you guys heard about the movie Am I Racist? It's by Matt Walsh and the people from the Daily Wire, and it dropped last week. And if you're not familiar with the Daily Wire, they are a conservative news media corporation.
Wait, you're telling me the one that has opened up has had very bigoted views that's been barely disguised, almost if they were whistling to a four-legged animal. It may not be good on race relations. What? No. All right, let's go.
Popularized by Ben Shapiro. Candace Owens was once there. They now have Jordan Peterson, and they have this guy, Matt Walsh. They have other people, but if you guys know them, then you can put them in the comments. And I became familiarized with the Daily Wire during the pandemic because they were one of the only organizations that were questioning, rightfully so, things that were circulating around the pandemic. I just, as somebody who wasn't even trying to politicize it, saw a lot of contradictions in what was being said in the beginning. Everybody was terrified and they're saying that everybody's going to die. And then it was separate by 6 feet because that's what's going to help. And then it was actually just don't go outside. And it was just too much stuff going on. They're switching.
So wait a minute. See, this is the problem with a lot of these conservative black people. One, this is a problem with a lot of Americans. It's this thing called science, things that we test for, that we know is a thing, things that even if you're a layperson, if you learn the science, you can take these things called numbers, which are objectively real. I don't want to get to the whole thing, is math real or we discover it. No. You know what I mean? And if you're at the level where you have to, when you're saying, did we discover math or we did invent math, you're already past the point. Numbers are real. But it was, things are going to happen if we do nothing at all. If we do some things, some people are going to expire. And if we do all of these things, we're going to have a very low. We did some things, and that's what happened. And you know what? They were right. Scientists were right. I know people think scientists are these big, giant walking mountains of hubris. You watch too much TV. Hell, I watch too much TV. But they tend not to have egos because their reputation is on the line. But let's go.
Information, they're changing information, and the people that were telling us to do certain things weren't doing it themselves, and they're getting caught, and there's money flowing around, and there's George Floyd and Brown Taylor. There's too much stuff going on. So I started listening to the Daily Wire after having, for most of my life.
What did George Floyd have anything to do with that? All right, let's go.
Very healthy diet of more liberal media. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. There's two polar opposites. I could listen to the CNN and all the other like liberal media that I've been accustomed to listen to.
CNN is not liberal. It is not liberal. CNN is demonstrably try to be centrist. Not, my thing, and I've had this conversation. You can be a centrist and be to a point where you have some views here, some views there. But when you actively try to be a centrist, that's asinine. Because in the end, you're just saying, I don't want to choose because I don't want to seem biased. And like, human beings have bias. And I kind of hate, this is my personal thing, I kind of hate this whole idea of this belief is right, this belief is left, this belief is right, this belief is left. God, have a morality compass instead of a political compass. But let's continue.
I get to contrast that with the total polar opposite side of conservative media, and then try to find the kernels of truth in both sides, and it's probably in most of the time in the middle. I was scrolling on YouTube last week, and I saw Joe Rogan, who is not somebody that I commonly listen to, but Joe Rogan was interviewing Matt Walsh. So I clicked on it, and then within like 13 seconds, I realized, oh, they're talking about a movie that had just come out. Now, Matt Walsh made a documentary called What is a Woman? I think about a couple of years ago. And I remember watching that and just listening to people try to define what a woman is. I think the inspiration for this film was when they were about to...
No, the inspiration in the film was literally him trying to be a bigot. Here's the thing, and this is probably going to be my breadth and width of the trans conversation. Me having a penis, a very large one, and thoroughly enjoyable for the women I've given it to, is not what makes me a man. It's my commitment to being an adult that happens to be a male makes me a man. There are other people on this planet, both feminized and masculine, that walk around with a penis that I wouldn't consider man because they're children. I don't care. And the fact is, if anybody came up to me and told me I have to wear a dress and act feminized, I would have an issue with them. So what point is it me trying to control somebody else's body? But what about if your kids want to be like, I don't care. Whoever my kid wants to be, I would want my child to be who she can securely be. Doesn't matter to me. Well, don't you want grandkids? No, I don't really care. I spawned my kid, and if the line ends with me, which it won't, because I have brothers and sisters. And my brother I have several brothers that have double-digit kids, but I don't care. What matters is if my child is mentally healthy, physically healthy, and can thrive in a place where she's judged on her merit. So this whole what's a woman thing, ask Ben Shapiro. Of course you can have a small penis and still get laid. All right, I'm sorry. That was a joke. But no, I don't care. I don't care. The one thing I care about is somebody actually tries to force me to be something I'm not. Then we have a problem. But a lot of these people's like, if it's in your face, you're gonna want to try it. No, no, no. People are impressionable. If they see it, then they're gonna want to try it. No, that just means they want to try it. Nobody's gonna convince me that I would like penis. This is the thing. It's not my thing. I don't like gawk. That's just not my thing. But some people may like it, and if they like it, that's good for them. Just not my thing. But let's continue.
Appoint Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court, and they asked her what is a woman, and she didn't really give and she didn't give a definition of what a woman is. And I know that
no, she gave a definition that you didn't like. Say that. Hold on, let's see if I can actually find it. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see.
Let's move on. I want to go to when you were at Harvard, your thesis.
I need something shorter. That's what she didn't say. Here.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I
So why is this a question that you would have for a Senate confirmation hearing? Because that just seems like a weird question to ask unless you're just doing it for the political points. And you're asking a judge, you're asking case law. And again, it's not so self-evident as people wanted to make it believe. I've known various women who can't have children anymore. Does that make them any less of a woman? Who naturally, even though they have the equipment for it, they can't carry it, or they've had surgery where they are no longer, able to produce children, due to hysterectomy. Does that make them less of a woman? And this part kind of always kind of like irked me, because it's like I've known, and I'm getting off into a tangent, I've known women in my life who have had issues with childbearing. And to call them less of a woman because of that, it kind of irks me the wrong way, because I've seen what it's done to them. And it is, yeah, no, I'm not going to fall down a rabbit hole. So let's see.
do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the
All right.
law and I decide.
Well-
So I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
Oh, she's just mad because she's educated. Oh, you know them darkies. They can't be educated because they start coming up with crazy ideas like their ability to know how to read and write and they want freedom. She didn't say it that bad, but yeah, it's kind of like, oh, education. They don't need to have those education. It's irritating. All right, let's go.
Question can sound patronizing, but nowadays sometimes you have to define such things. Now, I come from a Christian worldview, so I'm pretty sure I know I don't really separate gender and sex. I know that people do that. I personally don't, but that's not what we're getting into today.
Because you're an idiot. Hell, in your Bible, they have mixed gendered people. They literally have them. But oh my God, okay. All right, let's go. All right.
He made that documentary and he went around interviewing people who support different gender ideologies. What is a woman? How do they define it? And just different distinctives about that. And it was really just exposing a lot of contradictions. Some people call it transphobic, whatever words you guys use to characterize people who don't support that, go off. But he made that documentary and I watched that, and it was just so interesting to hear from people and let them speak their worldview and the logical conclusions of it. So now fast forward to present day, I'm watching this for about 13 seconds and boom, am I racist? So I'm thinking, okay, what is this?
So wait. It was a problem. It wasn't a problem for everybody else. It still isn't a problem for everybody else. But when it hits you, it's a problem. Damn. I wonder who keeps saying that. Everybody else is cool. But when it hits you, it hit you. Oh no, it's a problem now. When it was the other black people that was experiencing the bad part, it's not real. It can't happen. But when it hits you, whatever you do, I remember your Christ saying, whatever you did to the least of me, you did the least of them, you do to me. So when there's a problem with the other people that your Christ warned about, it's fine. When they come for you, somebody better say something. You know what I'm saying? Oh wait, the people that would have been your allies. Oh, they on, and this goes both ways. This goes both ways. You so protected about your group. When it comes for you, after everybody else has been came for and got, now it's a problem. Shoot. All right, let's go.
It's going to be about. And I find out, oh, he is, again, on a journey trying to figure out if he and other white people are inherently racist. And that's what the premise is, because how they feel is that most of the woke people in America are pushing critical race theory in a way that purports that white people in this country are inherently racist. So beyond America being systemically...
No, it's learned. A lot of it is learned. And you know what? It's not just a white person problem. I will admit to that. But Matt Walsh is kind of racist. I mean, like, he is kind of racist. Like, the evidence that he's racist is kind of evident. However, it's not because he's white. It's because he chooses to be. It's because he chooses to be a bigoted piece of shit. Like, you know, I'm just saying. All right, let's go.
Racist, whether you believe that or not. And we will get to that in the future of this video. We're talking about the people that inhabit America and whether or not they still hold on to these racist ideologies. The racist ideologies that their ancestors held that allowed them to subjugate millions of black and brown people in this country to slavery for hundreds of years.
I was having a conversation with somebody less than a week ago. I literally had a conversation with him. And one of the points that he made was, when I was growing up in Chicago, this was a racist neighborhood because a lot of the people was like, oh, the black people are starting to move out this way. Keep in mind, early in the conversation, he says, well, these people from south of the border is coming up to take our jobs. And they coming at, like, making a whole spiel that you hear. And I asked him, when he brought up the racist part that he was living in, I was like, but isn't that the same way you're describing the people that come from Central and South America and, you know, live among us? Well, that's different. We're Americans and they're not. They don't see it. And it's not because they're white. It's not because... No, it's literally... They have been conditioned not to see it. It's really not that hard to believe that when they feel that they're attacked, and this is one of the problems I have with the online left, they constantly... They're pigs. They're this. They're that. No, talk with them. And if you can't talk with them, don't get online and cassinate them. Just talk with them, because they're white, so they're racist. That's stupid. That is literally really, really stupid to do if you want to advance your political means. Yeah, CRT is a graduate level thing. But you know what? The problem with a lot of the people that are laymen that actually hear it, they're triggered by it because part of it they feel is right and they feel attacked. I'm not saying it is right. I'm saying they feel it's right and they feel attacked. If you don't feel attacked by it, if you can say, no, I'm not, and leave it at that, then you probably feel like you're being attacked because you feel it's true. If you are somebody who says, well, because this, you are literally saying, I accept it and go for it. But I mean, like, you know, I'm not the one to attack you, you know. If the shoe fits and wear it all things, I like, all right, let's go.
So, I mean, I see this and Kyra's in the room and she's reading and I kind of look at her like, oh, is this going to be one of I was like, I got to go see this. I want to talk about this on the podcast. But I'm thinking, is this going to be one of those things that Kyra don't want to be a part of? So I just kind of pitched the question to her like, Kyra, we got to go to the movies now. And she's like, oh, like to see what? And I didn't want to tell her, but I eventually told her and we went to the movies. And this was about 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Now, y'all tell me.
Wait, 10 a.m. on a Tuesday? Don't you know all good black folks are at work? No. All right, no, I'm joking. Let's go.
What demographic do you think was going to the movies at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday in the middle of Texas to see a movie?
Wait, I was just joking. I didn't realize. Okay, let's say this story.
Called Am I Racist? Promoted by a conservative news media platform. You guessed it. It was some middle-aged and older white folks in there and one Asian guy and two black folks, being me and Kyra. So we get our popcorn and we're talking to one of the employees and they're just like,
I was just joking. Oh my God. Now, it does say something that the majority of the audience that he's describing, and I understand this is an anecdote, are people looking to reassure themselves that they're not. Because everybody sees racism as this big overarching evil and makes you a bad person because people are concerned with not being bad people. I say it's a skill issue. To be honest with you, I think it's people being racist is being lazy. So I don't see them as necessarily evil. I just see them as lazy and fearful. But, there are people that says it's evil and when something is just objectively evil, it gives an excuse to linger and be excused and not try to fix. But, hey, maybe I expect more from people. But let's continue.
Heard this movie is like super good. And I'm like, I bet you did. So we get our popcorn and we sneak into the movie theater and we amble on up the stairs and we go to the very back and we're just posted past this white woman. She got her feet kicked up.
You in the back of the theater like you're supposed to be. Okay, I'm joking. Let's go.
And everybody, it wasn't a packed theater, y'all. But I'm just like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know. Like it was awkward. It was awkward because if you even know about this movie, you probably are watching the Daily Wire. And I know that some conservative rhetoric can house a lot of closet racist people. I'm just saying it can. So I'm like, man, what's about to happen?
But you know this. But okay, let's go.
This theater, how do people about to be acting? And to my surprise, that was probably one of the funniest comedy specials I've ever seen in my life. But in the very beginning, I started looking at Kyra like, wait, I always say that I'm not woke. But some of these questions he's asking is irking me a little bit. So I said, I admit.
That's your self-preservation, dog. But the program started to kick in. The programming of you being one of the good ones so it doesn't affect you started kicking in. That's your self-preservation. Let me tell you a secret. The whole stay woke thing is not a woke because black people. I know a lot of people on the conservative side like because black people, because gay people, because trans people. No, it's you need to stay woke to what's around you. You need to understand. You need to know that you're in a dangerous situation. There's a lot of people that participated in lynchings that didn't think they were racist. They just thought, well, this is it's the way things have been done. You need to stay woke. Keep your head on the swivel, dog. The fact that you have to understand that, yeah, some of these questions are making me a little bit uncomfortable. That's your fear response. Like, oh, I'm in a group of people. Not just because they're white people, because I want to kind of correct that. I'm in a group around white people that don't feel that they're racist no matter what actions that they take. That's the whole. Why did a group of y'all just go and kill this one person? Well, I wasn't here when we killed her. I wasn't here when we killed her. Like, I just did what they did. I was just over here. I was just part of the crowd. That's where you're at right now. I think I need you to let you know is you're in a place where they don't think that it's something bad that is bad about how they feeling. If that's apathy. We just need to go along with the crowd. And that's the problem. It's that one super racist asshole and everybody else going on with the crowd. That's a worse situation. And that super racist asshole is Matt Walsh. But let's go.
I am a pretty woke conservative, which is an independent, y'all. I see merit on both sides. In the very beginning of the movie, he was asking some questions about the black experience that I don't really think was landing the way that he thought they were going to land. And maybe it was because he was setting.
Because they were stereotypes. Because they were stereotypes. Let's go. I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this video. I told y'all this video could probably be summed up in 5 minutes. I told y'all. Let's go.
In the person up to contradict herself in the future. But the way that some of the people he was interviewing were recounting black history is just consistently true. And the way that we're speaking about anecdotally the black experience is consistently true. And it kind of just made.
Got any examples of that? Because I've seen some of the stuff that he said. And not exactly. All right, let's go.
Made me think, why is it that black people,
like to point out an example, fuck it, let's do it. When they had Jim Crow or segregation, the black family was together and it wasn't this fatherless home. Dude, they got rid of divorce, of faulted divorce. Everybody started getting divorced. It wasn't just black homes. It wasn't that you just had to be married. They started taking bastard off the birth certificates. So it wasn't the shame in just black folks' homes. It was the shame that was going out of everyone. You falling for the hook, line, and sinker of, oh, this just affected. Look. It's not just black people on welfare. It's not. And yes, there was a policy that was happening where if they felt there was a man in the home that can work, then they're not going to get welfare. So you know what the man did? They were in the home, but they didn't have a lot of stuff where you can be seen. They were there. That's why you get the stats like black and Latino parents, especially fathers, participate in the rearing of children more than, their white counterparts. That study that's actually been proven. People aren't getting married as much, but don't think that all of a sudden there just a wave of black folks just planting seeds and leaving. That's not how that works. And you know what the funny part about it is? I will tell you this. I called it out, and this happens with a couple people. It's like once the kid is there, it's been shown scientifically that all right, do I want to be monogamous to this one person that the kid is around? And I was like, because I've talked to people, and I'm off on a tangent, I know, and this is why this video is gonna be like so long. I was talking with the guy like when I was doing my walks on the lakefront. Now that I've switched to inside workouts, and he was just sad because he was concerned about the relationship he was having with his girlfriend. He was talking to me, who like I don't see why people talk to me about stuff like that. But I was like, no, the problem is you don't know if you're not sure that you love your child's mother, but you just don't exclusively want to sleep with her. And that's fine. That's a conversation that you have with your mate. It's just that if people, when they have kids, especially not super young kids, but kids old enough to like cause attention, like to have the attention be taken away from their relationship, it bothers people. It's called life. Now we can address it as a society, or we can just keep acting like, oh no, this is not a thing that happens. Like, no, it's a thing that happens. But it's wrong to feel that way. No, it's wrong to act on it. It's not wrong to feel. Anyway, I'm trailing off. Let's go.
Aren't just taken at their word. Why is it that? And I hear this a lot from black conservatives and conservative media. There's like this undertone of basically not believing the anecdotal experiences that's happening in mass with most black people. And not only just like questioning their stories and the things that happen to them. There's just a seeming like undertone of disbelief in it in a way to like undermine what people are saying to be true. And
because it makes them feel guilty, whether they are or not. And again, It's not for me to castinate a whole demographic of people of them being that way, but it makes them feel guilty. It makes them feel like it's wrong that I feel this way, that I have a non-belief of this one group of people's experience. Are there some people in every demographic that take their experience as extreme persecution against them, and then they, propagate that feeling that it happens to everyone the same exact way? Yes. Oh, definitely yes. But it is not just, oh, they're making it up. And it's not a basis of that in reality. But let's continue.
No, I'm not somebody who's just overly sympathetic, but I do think that there's a place for empathy, even biblically. And I think that sympathy can be taken advantage of. If you're looking for somebody to pity you, if you're just looking for that sympathy, you can take advantage of people, right? But empathizing with...
That's exactly what I was just saying. Exactly what I was just saying. But you should literally have empathy for people.
Meeting them where they are, hearing their stories, and understanding that whatever they're saying to you, whether it is factual or not, is real to them. How do we meet them emotionally and help them process that? Not to be manipulated emotionally, but to help them process that. Because I think way too often, people who are sharing their stories about the racism that they've experienced, the discrimination that they've experienced, like the one I'm about to share with you, it's just kind of written off. And I think because the people who are writing it off have never experienced this very subtle discrimination, they just don't know how it makes you feel. But when you add that to the history of this country and the anecdotal experiences of Black Americans en masse, there starts to be way too much evidence that is suggesting something that is way too easily looked past. And I know this is sounding a little woke. I've been reading a couple books side by side. One is called American...
Wait, no, that's not woke. That's... Look, here. That's what your religion actually tells you. I know. Like, it's co-opted to like preach this American Christian nationalism, which is inaffable to what your whole religion is supposed to be. Even if we, contradict what Paul says, because Paul was zealot. We literally address what you believe is your gospel. Actually says that. That's what I mean. Like, if you go to the Old Testament, like, that's a different story. Because, it's definitely nationalism. Would be considered nationalism vibes in there, but still, your gospel actually preaches that. But let's continue.
Rascal, and it's a biography about the life of Jay Gould, who was an American business magnate in the late 1800s. He was born in 1836 and he died in 1892. He was one of the original robber barons of this country. He had some very unscrupulous business tactics. He was lying, he was cheating, he was stealing, he was manipulating markets. He was a railroad magnate, and I hate to use language that nowadays we glorify with people who are billionaires, but this was not a very upstanding guy, but he ended up being one of the richest people in the late 19th century.
Wait, what? A billionaire, somebody who was exceedingly rich for the time, was just doing some underhanded stuff? What? No. Are you telling me you couldn't morally become somebody who was super rich? Be it billion or at the time millionaire, multi-millionaire. You have to do some unscrupulous stuff to get to that level? No. This is what I hate about the online left. They acknowledge the evilness of rich people, but they don't acknowledge that, it's not just because they're rich, it's because they do stuff to get to that. All right, let's go.
But the way that he got that wealth is what really started to bother me when you think about the long-term effects, because there are people in his family that are still within the top 20 richest people in the world 200 years later, which is a direct argument against people saying that wealth doesn't perpetuate generationally. And if this guy was around during slavery and discriminatory law times, how was he able to set up his family so well through all these illegal tactics that they still have money today? And then people say that Black folks who were subjugated to slavery for hundreds of years aren't affected by it today. But that's a whole other argument.
I wonder where he had this awakening. I'm sorry. You had to experience racism to have this awakening. You had to question. You start questioning this as soon as you realize that you had your Negro wake up moments. You had your Negro wake up moment, and you had to start questioning this. Yeah, but let's continue.
That we're going to get into later in this. But I'm reading this book, and it's talking about all the tactics that this guy used. It's kind of this, I want to say like rags to riches story, but not in a legitimate way. Like there was a lot of funny business going on in the beginning of this country. It doesn't focus on the slavery that was happening so much, but it instilled these ideas in my head of, okay, there were robber barons. What does that mean? There were people who used unscrupulous business tactics. What does that mean? How were these people that we name streets after and praise? How did they actually come to prominence? It talks about Vanderbilt and James Fisk and all these other business magnates and the things that they were doing. And I
pay people slave labor, worked them like dogs, cheated on, if they could, taxes, cheated on paying other business partners, like you name it, using brute force like the Pinkertons. Like, we have this in history. We know what they did. All right, let's go.
I almost sound like this was like historical fiction. Like I couldn't believe the laws they were breaking, the depths that they would take, capitalism, in their greed, the things that they would do to people, the wars, the many skirmishes they would start at factories in order to maintain power and money, the way that they would influence politicians and judges and presidents, all for some money. And this started to make me think, oh, it's that greed that leads people to evil. When they say that,
wait, wasn't it in the book where they said the love of money is the root of all evil? Like, all right, let's go.
Money, when the Bible says that money is the root of all evil, it's the greed that's under that allows people to have a cognitive.
No, read your Bible. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. I need you to read your Bible. Please. How am I a non-believer, but I know more about your Bible than you do? All right, let's go.
Cognitive dissonance that allows them to do some terrible things to people. So the book mentions the Civil War. And I don't know how much you guys remember from U.S. history, but I'm just going to go ahead and ask you, without looking, how old is our country? 1, 2.
Shoot. So I'm not going to do the math for the 1776. And, kind of technically it wasn't 1776, but it was more like 1787 with the establishment of the Constitution, the actual Constitution that we go by now, not the Confederation of States. But if we go by 1776, do the math, roughly about 249 years. I think I got that right. No, not 249. Roughly about 247 years. Yeah. I think that's the math.
2. When was the Civil War? Like, how long ago was that? And 3, how long was slavery in our country?
1860.
This is why I asked Kyra,
Those laws he's stating were illegal for them to exploit marginalized people. He's late, but yeah. It's when it happens to me, then there's a problem. And here's the thing about people who are, targeted by conservative policies. It's last one in, first one out. The thing about it is, it's going to just be, you're going to be taking away rights, and it's going to just be receding. The persons that they just got into the club, no, you can get you first. Then the next people, and then the next people, and it's going to be rolled back. And it's going to start getting rolled back so much that it's going to start affecting white people. And I'm not just talking about the Italians or the Irish. It's going to start affecting the Polish, the Germans, to a point where and then even then it's going to be, well, this particular white people is not going to be fun. You're not going to be part of the group that leads or has any power or agency. You're not. All right, let's go.
I just took a Texas history class at our local community college because coming from California.
Oh, I pity you. You just took a Texas history class. I pity you. Let's go.
The West Coast, like I need to be educated about like what's actually going on in the state that I led my family to. So I'm like, oh, of course I know this. I took.
You went from California to Texas? I'm sorry. I know some people who live in Texas now. I just like what kind of like tarnished me from the state is like about 15 years ago where they had the murder of a black man by dragging him behind the truck. It may have been like 20 years ago now. But when I heard that, I was like, yeah, no, we're not going to Texas. I'm not going to Texas unless it's those big cities where I mean, like they have like, you know, I'm not going to Texas. I'm not going to Texas. All right, let's go.
AP US history in high school, and I took history classes in college. I'm like, I know this. So we're talking about it, and we're like, hold up. 500 years ago? 500 years ago the Civil War was? And yeah, slavery was like, maybe the country is like 400 years old, and then slavery is like also 400 years old. So,
oh, you was stupid. Wait, what? You was stupid. Okay. Oh, you was stupid. That's what it was. You was stupid. All right, let's go.
Let's say the country is what, 400, slavery was 400 years ago, and the Civil War, let's say, is about 300, 400 years ago too. Nah. Y'all, the Civil War was 162 years ago. That's not that long ago. Because in the book that I'm reading, it referenced the Civil War, and I said, wait, but this guy is mentioning Vanderbilt and Carnegie and like all these other people. They're talking about manipulated markets in the early 1920s, and it's like, oh, it's because it actually wasn't that long ago. So I'm like, okay, how old is the country? So again, now I'm in the digital garden. Now I'm just chasing this rabbit wherever it's going. How old is the country? The country is 248 years old. I said, hold up. We have a young country. Like in terms of how long these different empires were around, our country is very, very young. So then I started thinking, wait, I started to remember some of the stuff I learned about the United States history from the California state education system. And I'm like, well, if the country is 248 years old and the Civil War was only 160 years ago, then that means that not my mom, not my grandma, not my great. Oh, I got some slaves that was in my family like 3 generations ago.
Yeah. I want to welcome you to Earth. The atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, some oxygen, other trace gases, a little bit of helium and hydrogen. You know, mostly covered with surface covered mostly with water. About 73%. Okay, all right, my fault.
And then it starts to remind me like, oh, I remember my mom talking about growing up and being raised in Pixley and picking cotton. And then I hear my grandma talk about how she used to pick cotton, where she's from in the South. And then how her grandma grew up picking cotton. I'm just like, why was everybody picking cotton? We're in California.
Did you have your Negro wake up call, dog? Oh God! Wow. He had it. He had his wake up call. Okay, let's go.
America's not racist anymore. We shouldn't be experiencing the discrimination. We shouldn't be subjugated. Black people can do whatever they want. You can become president. How? The people that I know and have spoken to, my mother on my dad's side, when I'm interviewing her about how she was, how am I hearing about all these black folks still picking cotton? And I was just like 7, talking to them. I can call my grandma right now. I can call my mom right now who's alive. And they would talk to me about them picking cotton for pennies. How could that happen? So I tabled it and I'm talking to Kyra and I'm like, look,
you know what's funny? Here's the thing. Yeah, no, it's not. But I can swear when you do the math, I can swear that's still like 247. But I maybe I'm carrying the one wrong. Maybe I'm carrying it wrong because I just it just seems weird to me. But I don't know. But here's the thing. And this is what I kind of like get upset at black folks for. Like, I get it. The racism, the enslavement, the constant poverty is something that you have every right to be upset about. And even though it's bad that it's happened to us, and it's and this goes to a larger point. It's you know, we have we've really suffered as a community. But what makes me mad, what pisses me off, is the shit that was used against us as black folks. The constant low wages for your work. They're constantly putting you in specific places. Black folks will turn around and do that to people from Central America and ostracize them. I literally saw, when I was living in the southeast side of Chicago, oh, these Mexicans are coming up and taking and lowering my property value. I saw a black person that was complaining that somebody else was lowering their property value. And I said, huh? You're complaining that somebody is lowering your property value. That same complaint that was used against you when you was moved to the suburbs, or you when you moved to certain parts of the city. You're complaining about that. Huh? He said it. This is what triggered it. They used to pay us pennies on a dollar for cotton. How much do you think the Hispanic migrants are being paid to pick lettuce? To pick the food that we all eat? To fucking cut lawns? You think that, like, the joke is you know, you get, you know, a landscaper that's Mexican and they charge you cheap. Like, that, you complain about this, but then say, well, we need to protect our borders for people that's not Americans. You know, you weren't considered American for a very long time. But it's a problem with you when everybody else being treated like this. No, property was, you know, property's been a thing. Like, let's just say, like, even like some of the most not the last to be colonized, the people that lived in the Pacific Ocean, they hit currency. So currency and property is a thing. It's a thing. I would not just lay that at the feet of the colonizers. It was different in the past. Yes, all the property belonged to the king. But property was a thing that happened. I mean, like, I can't just lay that on, you know, a European culture, because a lot of people did that. So just to lay that on them, even the people in this part of the, you know, globe still had that. But it's one of those things where it's just like, why would you do that to people when you know this thing of what has been done to you? But yeah, I'm off on a tangent. Let's go.
I'm not trying to sound like too woke, but there's something more to this. So I sleep on it and I kind of forget about it. So Kyra and I were hanging out yesterday and I wanted to go to Apple because I wanted to get an Apple Watch. I've been looking into like getting back into running. The last time I was running was like pre-COVID, and after I got COVID, it destroyed my lungs. But I want to get into running again because it was so much fun, and it's something I can do while I'm like listening to like audiobooks and like podcasts. I don't really listen to much music. So I get this Apple Watch, and then yesterday evening I got this burst of energy. I'm like, you know what? I want to go on a run right now. So grab my shoes, put my Apple Watch.
All right, I'm gonna warn you. A black man running in the South, be careful. I'm just saying. It's not like we have, you know, a high profile case of a black man just running in the South that led into trouble. But, you know, all right, let's go.
Watch on. And before I left, I had seen a little YouTube short of a woman talking about Cam Newton and how he was getting ate up by the doctor for creating a lot of broken families. But she wasn't just condemning his actions. She was speaking that the reason he had his actions that he was doing was because it's a result of post-traumatic slave syndrome, which is a word I've never heard.
No, I'm going to be honest with you. It's probably because he was rich and CTE. Like, CTE. I mean, like, CTE is the reason why I don't actually watch football anymore. But I can in good faith support a sport that causes people to have their brain broken even before they graduate high school. But let's go.
Heard before. And she's like, well, if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically this. And then here's a book that you can read. And it shares the same title. So I said, I am not about to deal with these wokies. But post-traumatic slave syndrome, what is that? So I look it up, and sure enough, post-traumatic slave syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing by Joy DeGruy. Dr. Joy DeGruy, that is. So I'm like, I'm really about to read this. Well, I'm reading about Jay Gould and American Rascal. I might as well get this too. So I get this, fully expecting, like, okay, here comes the DEI. They're about to try and indoctrinate Kaylin with some super woke religion.
Oh, what? It's almost if the more you know, the more you're responsible for changing your actions. What? No. And what? Propaganda. Oh, you're saying that the false propaganda, the prejudging of something just because it fits a certain group of people, it's a problem? What? No. I said it before. Being woke doesn't mean having a specific political bent. It is being aware of your surroundings, knowing when you're in danger. It seems like, his self-preservation is starting to come to effect. But let's go.
Just type of language and all that. But that's okay. Because as I said in the past, we read far and deep and wide. So I downloaded this book and I start listening to it, right? And I begin my run. And I'm running out of my house. And as she's explaining and giving the definition of racism, why does a truck full of white boys swerve right in front of me and start screaming and yelling at me? In Frisco, Texas, one of the wealthiest cities in the country, the safest city in the country, the best place to live in the country. On my street, I became a realtor to buy this house. We put the money down. Our kids go to the private schools here. We pay the taxes here. I belong here. I can't remember.
Did he have his Negro wake up call? Oh. But you was one of the good ones, right? You just said it. You put your money down. You were the realtor. You said it. You dressed up all nice in the suit. You dressed all nice up in the suit. Got your coupe and everything. We dressed up. But as Mr. Sean Carter said, he was just a what in a suit? He was just a what in a suit? Wake up! But you was one of the good ones, right? And I'm not laughing at the guy's experience. I'm not. I was just like, my guy, you voted for the leopards. And now they're eating your face. Your self-preservation is kicking in. And I'm not saying it is it is over an hour. That's why I don't think we're going to fix it. We don't finish it. I'm not saying specifically that all white people are racist. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, it's like he deserves this. No, nobody deserves to have an act of hatred visited upon them unless their actions dictate it. Dog, what I'm saying is you were warned. Now you are waking up. That means you are starting to be woke. Not in a, I'm going to change my, no, you need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to understand that you are in an island of people that don't necessarily hate you, but they are empathetic. They are not empathetic to your experience because it goes against the core belief of who they are. And that's the worst part about it. The hatred that people have, oh no, that's a problem. But when they just don't accept they're being hateful in their actions, and they just think that, well, it's just natural progression, that's a bigger problem. And now, when you were part of that group where, no, it doesn't really matter. It was fine. And I wouldn't even say you were pushed out in the cold, but that door opened and you felt that cold breeze. And that's a problem. That's the problem. Because while you had that door open, you felt that cold breeze of the people that was out in the cold. You saw the people that was out in the cold. And that's what's waking you up. But let's continue.
I ran outside my house without somebody screaming at me. I didn't even hear what they said. But I looked back and I could see there was a truck full of white boys. And they intentionally, we know streets are straight. They intentionally drove up, like swerved the car in front of me and started screaming and looking back. And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't know what they said. I don't know if they said anything racist. I don't even know if it was a racist act because they were probably kids, teenage kids doing silly things. I've done certain things like that.
Being a teenager doesn't excuse you from doing racist stuff. As a matter of fact, I don't know what to tell you, but there's this thing called the internet, and a lot of people that are young say racist and do racist stuff. Well, it's internet, they can't really do anything racist, but they say a lot of racist stuff and push for bigotry. I play video games, I should know. But let's continue.
But I'm like, what are you going to scream at a black dude with his shirt tucked in, not just tucked in, wearing Lululemon, AirPods? Like, I am the most unassuming looking person. I'm not here to threaten nobody.
I was one of the good ones. I'm a good one. They're not judging you on your clothes, dog, but they are judging you on something that they can see is not your clothes.
Why would you do that to me, of all people? I'm just on the street. Why? What would make somebody go out of their way to do that? Now, you say that to the wrong person, they're going to say, well, maybe they're just kids. Well, maybe they are just kids. I just said that. But am I allowed to say that maybe that happened to me because I was black? Am I?
Oh, God. And hold on. They just kids excuse? That means, hold on, let me check. The value of that is, it means shit. It doesn't mean anything. They just kids. Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything whatsoever. Let's go.
Am I allowed to say that was an act of prejudice on their part to scream at me?
Yes.
Or am I subscribing to too much of the victim mentality to make such assumptions? Am I assuming an implicit racial bias towards them because they're just screaming at a person? It doesn't matter if I'm black. I'm gonna get to why I don't believe that in a second. But spoiler alert, those things happening in the South, especially 80 miles when they used to lynch black people, and 100 miles where they used to douse them with gas, mutilate them, and then set them on fire. Black men and women and kids.
His self-preservation is starting to kick in. Yes. Now we can just get some of this for Myron and we'll be good. A little bit for Sneeko too. Oh, we need a whole lot for Sneeko. This dude has 250,000 subs and he's just not realizing this. Oh, his audience, he's going to lose some audience. So he's going to lose some audience. Putting this video out, oh, he's going to lose some audience. Oh, God. Let's go.
Kind of just, it's a little different when the descendants of those people are yelling at you when you're just trying to go on a run. But let me stop. So directly after that, and it didn't shake me at all. Again, I default not to the implicit racial bias. I default to them just being kids. But that happened, totally archived out of my mind. I'm listening to this book. And she starts speaking about some things I've heard about represented from the more conservative side, speaking on behalf of the more liberal side. She was talking about racism and whether or not black people can be racist. And when you ask that question, most people will say, yes, like, in fact, black people can be.
Yeah, black people can be racist. That's a thing that happens. Yes, they can. And before you say racism is bigotry plus power, no. if you are 1-to-1 on the same level of somebody and you still try to be racist because of their race, that's racism, dog. You're trying to be bigoted because of their race. We have a special word for bigotry because of somebody's race. It's called racism. That's just it. Can you leverage the criminal justice system on them? Can you leverage, the socioeconomic status on them? But you can treat them like crap. That's racism. That's a thing. The whole you have to have power over somebody in order to hate them because of their race. No, that's not just the thing that happens. And for people who believe that, they're just looking for an excuse for their own racism. But let's continue.
Be racist. And that's what I've always thought. Like, I feel like I've met some black people that were racist. And she changes the definition. And I've always heard that racism is inextricably linked with power dynamics and actually being able to affect people. So in order to define racism from her worldview, just like
GA, you're using, yo $5 words. That's what I just said. You're using $5 words and I'm on a $3 budget. All right, no, but you're right. Yeah. Let's go.
Can a group of black people be racist towards white people? People would say yes. Okay. So I say, what does that black racism look like? Like when a black person or a group of black people is racist towards a group of white people, what power do those group of black people have? What can they stop white people?
Social power, which for a lot of people, it is a thing. Social power is a thing. It is a thing. It is you ain't gonna date my daughter because you this, or you ain't gonna do this because you that. Social power is a thing. But let's continue. And you know what? Here's the thing. Conservatives know that social power is a thing, even if you are excluded from a specific group, because they all complain about it because of, the pandemic, these people can't socialize like they want to. They know it's a thing. Being socially excluded or being cut off socially is a problem. The young men, all they do is goon every day. They don't use goon. And watch, nasty videos, and they are alone and lonely. Social power is a thing. But let's continue.
People from doing. So people are just like, okay. Not much historically. I mean, you could be violent towards them. But systemically, structurally, not much. Okay, so I say flip it. So when white people are racist towards black people, what can they do to affect the groups of black people en masse? Oh, redlining, mass incarceration, all this stuff, right? So her point was that racism is inherently linked to power dynamics and being able to enforce certain power over people in the form of limiting them from opportunities, excluding them totally, dehumanizing them. That's what racism is. Mm-hmm. What we mentioned before with black folks against white people is just a form of prejudice. And everybody has that, whether they want to admit it or not. So I said,
No, I'm not prejudiced. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm prejudiced against stupid people. Yes, I will say it right now. I'm prejudiced against stupid people, not ignorant people. There's a difference. Ignorant people are people by definition that don't know. Stupid people are ignorant people that willingly want to remain stupid or ignorant and fight tooth and nail. No, I want to keep this stupidity. So yeah, I'm bigoted against stupid people. And yes, before you say it, that's just people. You humans are just... All right, let's go.
And before even breaking that down, she just spoke about how it's just one human race anyway. And ironically, the people who are the most racist are going based off of faulty pseudoscience that was trying to find the biological differences between people based off of the pigment of their skin. And it's from their, quote, studies and wrong theories that they've extrapolated into thinking that black people are subhuman and that they are a more elite race. You have people that are constantly trying to cause division by trying to put themselves, it's one human race, but they're trying to put their race over another as a way to justify their mistreatment of them. And they have
See, even he says it. You humans are bad. All right, let's go.
Educated people en masse throughout history And that miseducation has led to prejudice and discrimination that has perpetuated through generations and has informed our laws and has limited the opportunities of millions of black folks. That is racism. The other is prejudice. There's a big difference there.
Not much of a difference as he's trying to put. There's not much of a difference. And the fact is, it's just racism. I'm sorry. It's racism. Social power that you have over people, even if it's in a limited amount, is still power. You saying that you don't like a group of people and that they're by definition just bad because that's who their makeup is. That's racism, dog. Again, I kind of like, okay, so one of the things that I'm starting to notice with this video is what he's saying is that he's swayed by the most he's swayed by the most persuasive argument, and he dives full force into it instead of coming up with a digestion of what's being said and actually coming up to it. Because it's no way, like, and again, I've like had issues with far leftists, and they're not really leftists, they're just want to make an excuse for their own bigotry. The people that's like, no, it's prejudice plus power. No, dog, you're being prejudiced because somebody's race is racism. It excuses the disdain that black folks have for white folks because they don't have any power. Like, social power is a power. If you walk around saying that, and I hate repeating this, but white people don't have a particular type of soul or have a particular type, but they can't make good anything because they're white people. That's intellectually lazy. That's racism, and that's not a thing that you should actually say. Now, if you want to say, because a lot of people conform to the general society that they're around, and they start to just like not have creativity because they're pretty well off, not a lot well off, they're just well off enough. They don't have any, their troubles are related more towards boredom and isolation, and that doesn't breed creativity. That's fine. Because here's the thing. Not only have I met white folks that live in the suburbs, I've met some black folks and Hispanic folks too. They tend to meld into all this homogenized, don't stand out type culture. And it's just like, do you even live? Dog, do you like it's like, okay, off in like another tangent. It's like, I get that there's promiscuity in that is like push to the black community that's labeled as a black thing, but do you know how many people that live out in the suburbs that are just like swingers, that are the hot wives or having affairs, but mostly are just swingers? I mean, like, the whole thing is just like, you look at some of these groups and you like, you think that, who do you think were the most makeup of Ashley Madison? Like, I mean, like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? It's because they're bored. They're bored and they're lonely. Throw in a little bit of fear, and then you just have like some bland people who. But let's continue.
Now, it's not to say that if the roles were flipped and if black people were the colonizers en masse, and if black people had done the transatlantic slave trade with Europeans and had discovered America and subjugated white people, it's not to say that black people wouldn't be racist. It's just to say, within this worldview, within this definition, it's hard to be racist. It's actually impossible if you don't have the power dynamics to support it and to enforce it. So I remember in high school, around the time we'd be applying to colleges.
See, this is stupid. This is like really, really stupid to say that. It's really, really stupid to say that black people can't be racist. For one, even if you believe that, why would you give your enemies the tools to say that You're just being a hypocrite. I see the way you behave. I see the way you act. That's the same thing that you accuse us of being racist to do. You do the same thing. Why would you promote that? It's stupid. But let's continue.
Or just before, actually. I remember going to Stanford with our Black Student Union, and you were only able to go if you could actually get in. And I was a pretty great student in high school. So me and a few other kids got the opportunity to go to Stanford, and we spent the night there. And we were basically courted by the Black Student Union that was at Stanford. And they told us like how to get in, how to apply, how to write our essays. But this was a lost memory. I can't believe I'm remembering it right now. I remember they invited us into one of these historic classrooms, and they separated us from males and females, and it was just the guys. And they took us into this lecture hall. It was old. You could feel it. And we're sitting in this room that's shaped like a theater, but a little bit smaller. And there's like 5 or 6 Black dudes that were Stanford students, and some of them had even graduated. And we started talking about racism. We started talking about affirmative action. We started talking about why it's important for us as Black people to excel so that we can right the wrongs of the past, break generational curses, and excel. And they're speaking about all these things. And me being the guy who's in speech and debate forensics, I just wanted to take a contrarian angle. I've always been that way. I've never just been one to just kiss up and just listen to folks.
That's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. All right, let's go.
So I had mentioned like, hey, like some of the stuff that you're promoting is like problematic. It's like partial. It's kind of unfair. And some of the things I had heard said was kind of racist. And I remember debating one versus the 6 guys that are up there and then the 100+ other kids. And it's just me. And I'm just like debating with them about my Black experience and how it's different. And a lot of the talking points that I was hearing in the Am I Racist movie, I was already expounding upon as a high schooler at Stanford. Like, so it goes on for a bit, and finally they kind of dismissed the arguments that I was throwing out, because again, even at that time, like I was more woke then, but I was still coming from a biblical worldview, and I couldn't rationalize everything that they were saying and the solutions that they were promoting apart from the biblical worldview. So eventually they're just like, all right, we're just done talking about this. We need to move on. This is getting off the rails. But I remember walking out of there and thinking, this is a very hard square to circle because it's nuanced. And
what humans, even though they lack seeing nuance, are nuanced almost as if each individual is a different individual. What? No. All right, let's go.
Often what I see people who are woke that are really just starting from a different place in terms of like worldview. So a lot of times, like they will reject the Christian worldview because they'll say that the religion was imposed on slaves by their oppressors. And
no, I reject the worldview because there's no proof that it's true. I'm not going to say it's not true because, as somebody who likes science, you can't disprove something. You can't prove something. You can only disprove something. And there's no objective way of proving that it's true. The only evidence that you have is evidence that can be quantified by any other religion that's actually put out there. So you can't just say, well, it's not true. There's no proof that it is true. That's a thing. But who thinks scientifically like that, right? Right. So no, okay, of course. There's no proof that it's true. But let's go.
And absent of that oppression, we don't know if our ancestors would have actually became Christians in the first place. Therefore, they reject the Bible and the worldview that follows.
No, they showed that in Africa, Islam actually prevailed. Even in West Africa, Islam actually prevailed. That's what happened. That's the thing that happened. We have history. And not only that, but the pagan religions that were around as well, pervaded. So much so that what people call voodoo is a mixture of Roman Catholicism and African spiritual religion. That's the thing that happened. All right, let's go.
Follows it. They start at what happened, which is ripped from Africa and now are slaves. And then generationally, we're dealing with the effects of that. And they start talking about what happened, and it enrages people. And then we get to where we are today. And they come up with solutions that are divorced from what I would say would be a biblical worldview or any religious worldview at all. And I understand why they do that. They're unbelieving, mostly atheists or maybe spiritual. And they just, again, they don't have biblical convictions, which is their prerogative. But that's where they lose me. So the solutions that they come up with aren't biblical. And sometimes they're unfair. And, the conservatives would say they're like Marxist and almost communistic, and they're destructive in the long term because you can see historically where some of these ideologies, when they're enacted, what they've led to. These are what the conservative talking points against.
No, I mean, like, I get the whole, the whole argument where, they just feel that this, like, I mean, like, the whole thing about, the communists in Russia, like, got rid of religion. No, they still had the Christian Orthodox Church. They just wanted to be the head of it, but it was still there around. But I mean, like, to castinate again, to say that, to throw that the non-religious, it leads to bad outcomes. I mean, like, we had the crusades. We know what happened with those. Yeah, of course, morality is subjective. It's subjected to the time and culture that it's placed in. But again, when your religion preaches objective morality, even though some of the things that were done in the time that your holy text was written wouldn't fly now, I mean, like, you kind of have to ignore those parts. That's why a lot of religious people, not just Christian, don't follow strictly to their holy book, and when they do, everybody considers them monsters. That's the thing. People that are really, really fundamentalist about any religion that they're a part of, when they follow that, like, people are considered monsters. Like, let's just be honest. That goes for the Abrahamic religions. That goes for the non-Abrahamic religions. If you follow those to the T, yeah, you usually considered a monster.
Against that would be okay. But on the conservative side, when you start with the biblical worldview and you understand the spiritual anthropological state of man, you understand that it's totally depraved, right? And then if you start from being totally depraved, you can rationalize why certain atrocities have happened throughout history. And then when you rationalize that, the solution that you get to is basically those bad things happen, but vengeance is the Lord's. And we shouldn't ultimately be trying to enact social justice, because ultimate justice, capital J, like not in like a Socrates or Platonic way, but like capital J justice, because God is just, is going to be enacted in the future. So it kind of is giving, just kind of keep on keeping on, fight the good fight here on earth, and live amongst people who will terrorize you, demonize you, discriminate against you, and limit your opportunities. Because
they call that a victim complex. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to take pot shots about stuff like that, but yeah, no, that's called a victim complex. Okay, cool, great. A victim complex to Stockholm syndrome, because I'm not gonna go there.
it's okay, because God is gonna like take care of that in the future. So you got to wonder, though. You really got to wonder. The people who say such things on the conservative side, how are they making people on the super woke side feel? The people who've rejected the Christianity because they believe it's the religion of the oppressors are now hearing Christians saying that social justice doesn't.
But doesn't he get that it's just not you either you're a Christian or you're not any religion, right? He understands that, right? He understands that there are people that practicing Hinduism and Islam and Buddhism, right? He understands that there have been just a reemergence now with with pagans, right? He understands that, or what is it called, heathenism. He understands even in the Middle East there's still Zoroastrianism, right? He gets that, right? It's not just either you're a Christian or you nothing. But most Christians, beliefs, they don't think Mormons are Christians, even though they count themselves among Christians. Hell, even some Christians don't count Catholics as Christians. My brain is hurting. Let's continue.
Ultimately matter, and kind of put your head in the sand and experience this. It's kind of sounding like what they did to slaves, which is not the gospel at all, but the messaging and the lack of empathy, not sympathy, the lack of empathy.
I'm done. I can't anymore. it's gonna get bad, and I don't want to be that bad today. Not today. Anyway, I do want to say this. It's telling that what has happened with this cat is not until he started experiencing he's starting to be awoke. And I'm not even saying like he's woke in a sense of he believes in this, he believes in that. No, he's waking up, the truest sense of the word. He's waking up to what's around him. That self-preservation is starting to kick in. And I'm sorry, that just, I don't know what else to say. But anyway, remember one thing at this video. I will say this. Keep in mind, what they do to other people are them just sharpening their tools to do to you. Unless you're at the top of that tip top of the hierarchy, you're going to be thrown under the bus one way or another. But hey, people have been telling us it's that famous poem about when they came for this people, I didn't say anything. When they came for that person, I didn't say anything until they came for me, and there was nobody else to say anything for me. At some point, you're going to have your wake up moment. But anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Help me out by subscribing to the channel, and we're going to cut this video segment here.
I want to say thank you to all my Patreon supporters and my Twitch subscribers. Join the Guardians, become a member, or become a subscriber on YouTube, Patreon, and help support the channel. Thank you for watching this video, and the next one should be popping up on your screen. Subscribe, and if you haven't checked it out and want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon. Thanks.